Welcome to the AA Podcast, our little corner of the web where we are not afraid to discuss tough questions like,
when did nutrition, health, movement, and stress management become alternative medicine?
Where we embrace challenges in all aspects of life to become healthier and stronger versions of ourselves.
And where food and movement are the best kinds of medicine, and cooking meals at home is a revolutionary act.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the AA Podcast. This is Ashley Olson.
And I'm Andrea Crane.
We are wrapping up our series on cognitive health today, which we're excited to dive into some of the supplements that we recommend for aiding in our mental health. But before we do that, we are going to share our weekly Bible verse, and mine is coming from Philippians 4:6-7. And it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus."
Awesome. I love that one. Okay, mine is 1 John 4:11. It is, "Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another."
Oh, that's a good
I
one
love
too.
John. He's like the Hemingway of the Bible, right? Just short and sweet. Just
Yep.
get to it and get out. Yeah.
Didn't he say Jesus
Are
wept?
you dizzy from moving around my screen so much? Hello,
You froze.
Ashley Olson. Are you there?
Yes, I can see
Hi.
you.
No,
I
you
can hear
froze.
you. No,
Oh,
you
okay.
froze.
Okay. No, you froze. All right.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll close
I
down
finally
any
have you.
apps.
Okay. I finally have you situated in the right spot. So
Okay.
on my screen.
So today we are going to dive into supplements and nootropics that help to sustain and improve cognition. And if you have not already, go back. We have 4 beautifully organized episodes prior to this one, talking about cognitive health. And there's some really fascinating things that, one, I think today will be about improving it, but there's fascinating information on things that we might just be doing haphazardly that we don't realize are detriments to our long-term cognitive health. So go back and listen to those episodes. Hopefully you find them insightful and things that you might be able to start adjusting or changing in your lifestyle today to help you in the future, if not already today. So we are going to start off with one that I think is, well, I think a lot of people might recognize the names of some of these, but glutamine. What's so special about glutamine?
I want to give a disclaimer first also.
Oh, yes.
People might want to get a pencil and paper here. Or as you kids say, you might want to tippy tap type this stuff down because we are giving chapter and verse today. Like we are spilling all of the tea on supplements to make your brain go as fast as possible. So I have researched amounts. I have researched all the information that you need to like actually put some of this stuff into place in your own life. So you will get how many times to take this, how much to take, and I would encourage you to pick a couple of these and just see how you go. So yeah, as Ashley mentioned, we're going to start with glutamine, and some of you may have heard of glutamine. This is one that I use frequently in practice, and also for myself. It's interesting. I suggest this for people, but I think I think kind of in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, but does that really work? And yeah, it really does. It really does. I try it, and it works for sugar cravings.
Okay.
It actually works really, really well. And some people will dry scoop this. That's what the kids are calling it now, when you just take a spoonful of powder.
So Andrea has been trying to teach me all the new hip
words.
Oh
My gosh.
And
yes.
there are way too many. And I am like, that is my brain. Probably actually I should learn it. It's like another language. So that would be my second language. But
for
yeah.
real.
For But is it just FRFR or is it for real?
I guess it's whatever I'm not saying. That's what my kids would say. It's like,
All
Mom,
right,
just
all right.
stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the
So, so any time of the day you
mhm.
take this, or you said
Yeah,
3 to 4 times a day?
so here's what I do. So if you're taking it for cognition, you want to take, and you know what? Actually, I'm going to do the dose at the end. I'm going to tell you what it does first, and then I'll do the
Okay.
dose at the end. I know that's not how I made the outline, but I'm a woman, so I reserve the right to change my mind whenever I want to. Anyway, so there is a connection to gut health here with glutamine. So again, I use it for sugar cravings in practice, and then I also use it for as part of like a gut healing protocol. So enterocytes are the cells that line the gut, and that is what keeps the outside out and the inside in. So they're incredibly important. They're like first line defenses. So we got to keep those healthy. And if you have something like leaky gut, I that term again, that term is leaves a lot to be desired, but if you have leaky gut or intestinal permeability, then you probably need to feed your enterocytes. And they preferentially eat the amino acid glutamine. So if you give it outside of other amino acids, meaning it is a lot more effective when taken on its own. So glutamine helps with gut health. It helps with sugar cravings, and it has also been shown to improve cognitive decline. So the studies that looked at glutamine actually looked at cognitive decline in these acute situations related to poor oxygenation. So these are people who like go up to altitude. So when I lived in Colorado, I climbed a ton of 14ers during my time in Colorado. And I always said I got really stupid above 12,000 feet. So I don't respond extremely well to poor oxygenation. So 12,000 feet, and I've been told I am a hoot to climb with because,
Oh,
yes, I'm very funny apparently at 12,000 feet and above. So,
can't imagine because at sea level you're quite funny.
yeah, so I think I'm just downright clownish at 12,000. So yeah, but they've studied people who were at altitude or people who have chronic levels of apnea. So like if you're having apnea episodes at night during your sleep, and we've talked about this, then you know your body's in this chronic state of oxygen deprivation, and glutamine has been shown to be protective against the cognitive decline that is downstream from these events. So, also in other studies, it has been found to be protective against mild cognitive impairment. Now, MCI or mild cognitive impairment, it's important to know where this is on the continuum, right? So we've got the cognitive decline, if you will, that occurs as a result of normal aging, but then we've also got dementia. Now there is a space in between called mild cognitive impairment. So these are folks that where we give like a mini mental status exam, which is like, hey, look at this picture, tell me what you see, or hey, answer these questions, or what do you see here? And if someone is not completely failing those exams, but they're not getting everything right either, that could be a mild cognitive impairment. So this is protective against that, and the mechanism they believe is to protect against oxidative stress. So I've brought this up, I think, in the last one. We talked about the free radical production in the body, right? Where you get these oxygen species that they lose electrons and they become free radicals. So oxygen likes to hang out in pairs. It's one of the diatomic molecules, and so oxygen always hangs out as O2, right? So you'll see, unless it's in another formulation, for instance, water, right? Water is H2O. So there's two hydrogens and an oxygen. But when oxygen is by itself, it likes to hang out as O2. So you need two oxygens. otherwise it's unstable. So the two oxygens share an electron between the two of them, and it goes whizzing around, and it essentially completes both of them. Isn't that very sweet? It completes both of them. They're sharing an electron. Um, but when you rip the oxygens apart, then they're each looking for their other electron, right? They don't have one to share. So they go around like destroying things, looking for that other electron, and they'll destroy DNA. They'll steal it from all kinds of places. So yeah, that's what a free radical is it's going around looking for that other electron, and it'll grab it from anywhere it can, and it will destroy things in the process. So that leads to oxidative stress, because you've got this massive oxidation process going on. So
That's fascinating.
yeah, glutamine protects against that. So you don't want damage going on in your brain, right?
So, like, say, well, we've talked about it in I think uh, maybe the deficiency episode.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so with glutamine, like, is this something that, say, okay, I'm 39 today, or not today, but I'm 39 now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is this something that if I start taking it now regularly, this is something that
Oh,
does
for
it have?
sure. If it really works, based on reducing oxidative stress, basically, oxidative stress is what ages us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it ages every process in the body, it ages our tissues, it ages our brain. So if you can slow the aging process, if you can slow oxidative stress, then absolutely that's protective over time.
So that's what like a hyperbaric chamber does. It puts
Um,
in
no.
more. No?
No, hyperbaric chamber forces oxygen across the tissues. So it actually forces oxygenation. So we'll use hyperbaric chambers for low oxygen states where people are like diabetics. Let's talk about diabetics. So let's say a diabetic has a foot wound or an ulcer somewhere, and they can't get blood to that area to heal it. So essentially, the blood flow is bringing oxygen to that area, and you've got to heal in the presence of oxygen. So you don't want, because gosh, if you have like an anaerobic environment, then you are open to all kinds of things like gangrene. um, and that's why people lose limbs, they lose toes, they lose tissue because of that. So we want to force oxygen down into those tissues, and that's what a hyperbaric chamber does.
Okay.
um but yeah, this is a little bit different. This like the normal cellular processes create oxidative stress, like just you living and walking around and your cells doing, like your mitochondria. Okay, perfect example. Mitochondria creating ATP, right? That's your energy, adenosine triphosphate, and then you cut off those little phosphates on the edge, and then it releases all this energy like a big spark when you cut it. So she's laughing at me.
I
Um,
love how our brain works. I wish mine worked like this.
but no, you don't want to be in here. The squirrel needs fed periodically. So yeah, it as your mitochondria create all the ATP in the creation of that so that you can function and run. It creates reactive oxygen species that go around and cause damage. So yeah, we need to protect against that with things like antioxidants. That's why we're constantly harping at you guys to eat fruits and veggies, brightly colored fruits and veggies, because we're constantly working against this oxidative stress.
Okay.
And now you want to
So,
give them you want to give them
yeah.
the the goods, the amounts.
So, everybody, listen up. Get your pen and paper ready.
Mm-hmm.
So for glutamine, we're showing to take 5 grams 3 to 4 times daily.
Yep, and this is
So,
this is one of those canisters that I have on my countertops,
I
right,
was
along
just
with
about
my
to say,
fiber.
like, this is one that you can just add to the lineup of putting in your water.
Yep.
Every time you fill up your drink, add in some glutamine,
Mm-hmm.
and you would be set for the day.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, make your water work for you. You're gonna be
Yeah.
drinking it anyway, so you might as well put some stuff in there.
Well, you
Um,
should be drinking it anyways.
well, yes, we should be.
Yes.
Tippy. I I will be. I can tell you, I will be getting a gallon in today. So yeah.
All right.
All right. Next, phospholipids. So these are really cool. And you know what? Let's see. I think I actually have phospholipids and phosphatides down further. Let's talk. I tell you what, let's talk phosphatidylserine, and then I'll bring this up again a little bit later on because there's more than one phospholipid. Um, there's actually 3 or 4 that I can think of. But we'll talk about phosphatidylserine first. So
And we
this
talked
is
about this one again in our sleep episode.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we did. I'm sure we did. And yeah, phosphatidylserine is fascinating. This has been shown to, so I originally used it for sleep in people,
Mm-hmm.
especially people who had that reverse cortisol curve, and I think that's what we talked about. Um, but when they're wired and tired at night, then phosphatidylserine will help to block cortisol so that melatonin can rise and then, they can fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is also research showing that it helps with ADHD and focus. I should be taking, and so should you.
I'm like, wait a minute.
I know. Yes, yes, no, yes, that we both need to be taking this. And
Okay.
what I recommend is that people take, so Now brands, I love Now. They are such a great company. They make quality stuff and it's very affordable. So
Yeah.
that's one of my absolute go-tos to recommend for my patients. So Now makes a formulation that I believe is 100 milligrams. I think they may have a 100 and a
Yes.
300. Do they? Okay.
Yep.
Great. So I like to have the 100s around because you can take a couple of those um, at several points throughout the day to help increase focus. So for those people that are real type A, like high energy, way up here, um, and just a little scattered, right? Like the kind of typical ADHD, hard to focus brain. It helps both working and also auditory memory. So you can imagine, and this is for kids too.
Mm.
This works wonderfully in kids. In fact, I'll push my kids up to 200 milligrams a day of phosphatidylserine, and this is a great adjunct therapy when it comes to treating ADHD. So yeah, it increases auditory memory. So you can imagine that there was probably a great application when kids are at school, right? Like if they are trying to take things in auditorily, they've got a teacher up front that is, trying to deliver a lecture, trying to deliver information, then this helps both that working memory and also the auditory memory.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
huge fan of phosphatidylserine.
So, well, when this episode drops, we'll be done with school. But
Yes.
this could
Mm-hmm.
be a great one to maybe take during, especially the weeks of maybe. Oh, how does it work? So this one you've told me in the past to pulse. So pulse dose. So
Not
like
this one.
not this
Not
one.
this one. Nope. This one is totally fine to take all the time.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we can take this all the time. 300 milligrams at night. Now, obviously, here and again, I don't like green pharma. Okay, I don't like trading one handful of pills for another handful of pills. So if we get to the state where we have calmed someone down, we've increased their focus, then if you don't need this any longer, if there are days that you don't need this, then don't take it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very effective at what it does, and you can potentially take this long term. Yeah.
Okay. Good to
So
know.
300 milligrams daily in adults,
All right. 200 milligrams
200.
daily in kids.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna link all these things that you can get on Amazon. Um, Most of them are super um, inexpensive,
Affordable. Yeah.
affordable, and they last a long time. So,
Yeah, and
so
guys,
then,
hear this part though. Don't try everything. Okay,
yeah.
I'm again. I like a really conservative approach to these things because
Hmm.
otherwise, and I sound like a one trick pony. I say this many times throughout the day, but I don't want to throw 50 things at something because you don't know what works.
True.
So pick a couple, pick 2, pick 3, and see if you get some focus out of it. Make yourself an experiment. And,
Yeah.
if something works, then keep it in your toolkit. And if it doesn't, then don't use it.
I like it. Yeah. So do you want to talk about what's next on our list, or do you want to do the other phospholipid?
You know what? Let's just keep heading down the list because I know
Okay.
you've got a lot to say about this one. This is one of
So
Ash's
the next
faves.
one is one of my favorites,
Mm-hmm.
and every day that I learn more about it, it's just even more fascinating. Um, and pretty much, unless you have a specific doctor reason not to take this, this is one that everybody should be taking. Creatine. We have
Mm-hmm.
talked about it before. I freaking love creatine. If you, especially, are weight training, aging, which is
Mm-hmm.
everybody, you should be taking creatine. It not only helps for retaining and helping with muscle growth, but it is literally probably one of the most researched supplements too. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much information out there, so just go to Google Scholar and like type in creatine, and there'll be hundreds and hundreds of studies out
Mm-hmm.
there. But one thing that was really fascinating on the cognitive side of creatine is, so when you're taking it just for muscle growth, the recommended dosage is 3 to 5 grams of creatine daily.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're showing is the muscle stores 95% of that dosage. And so that's leaving a really, really small portion that can actually be used for the brain and the bones. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what we're finding is actually taking more creatine. So, recommended dosage is up to 10 grams a day of creatine. So, again, throw this in your water. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yep.
So, you could do that just a couple times a day, and you would get your 10 grams easily. But this is showing that it not only benefits the muscle, but now it's able to distribute some to the brain and the bone health.
Yep.
So it's just fascinating. And
Yeah, it's a cool
there's
one.
some really cool studies, and we talked about this one in, I can't remember what episode, but there's some really, maybe it was earlier in our cognitive health episodes, but really cool studies with the Parkinson's and
Oh, yeah.
Alzheimer's,
Mm-hmm.
um, with creatine helping with
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Well, and also, this, okay, I want to draw glutamine into this too because there's some research on creatine that it will mitigate the effects of concussion, as well as mild traumatic brain injury and also depression.
so crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's
And
kinda like a
again,
magic pill, and
yeah, it
obviously it's
is.
not, but, it is kinda, it's just fascinating all the things that it can benefit.
Right. Yeah, no, it's huge in its impact. So again, we're talking about working a working mechanism of scavenging those ROS or the reactive oxygen species, right? So the free radicals, same thing. It's going to enhance ATP production in the brain, and then it protects the mitochondria, which are the energy producers, in the same way that glutamine does. Now, glutamine also mitigates the effects of concussion, especially if you can give it. Now this sounds a little bit crazy, but if you can give it as soon after the head injury as you can possibly, like, if you I don't know, if I had a kid in football, I would probably have glutamine at the ready. Like if
Well, that's what
my
I was gonna
kid got a
say,
head
like, these
injury,
kids in
yep.
sports, they
Yep.
probably should be having it.
Yep, absolutely. They absolutely should have it at the ready. This So in the functional nutrition space, we've known about this. I learned about this 8 years ago, 9 years ago in school. But it's finally starting to trickle down into practice and into like the head injury spaces. And so yeah, the we we know that it causes leaky gut and leaky brain. So the membrane of the gut and the membrane of the brain are very closely connected, and if one is dysfunctional, the other is dysfunctional as well. So when you get a traumatic brain injury, it causes this massive leaky gut. You can get lipopolysaccharide, which is something created by gram-negative bacteria that impacts the brain. It drives inflammation. So if you can give glutamine, and there are specific probiotics that are protective against this too. I don't have them at my fingertips, unfortunately, but there you can Google that. But yeah, there are probiotics and also glutamine and also creatine to mitigate the impact of concussion and mild TBI.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
very cool.
So glutamine, creatine, add it to your
Uh-huh.
daily.
Yeah.
10 grams daily to
Okay.
help benefit both muscle, brain, and bones.
Yeah, and I know you guys are too. I'm all about like how can we make our morning routine efficient, right? Because
Hmm.
otherwise if it's not efficient, you won't do it.
Yeah.
So, I need to just be able to take a scoop and just dump
Yep.
and go. I
Hmm.
can't be weighing everything out in the morning. So when I put stuff in my water, what I'll do is I save scoops from different things. I'll just save them in my silverware drawer. And then when it comes time, like, I've got a bottle of creatine. So what I'll do is I will fill a scoop with creatine. I'll weigh it out once. I'll put enough creatine powder in there to get to 5 grams or 10 grams or whatever, and then I will eyeball it.
Yep.
And the next time, like for all the subsequent days, I will just eyeball it. And I know that this particular scoop holds about 5 grams of this or that. And
Yep.
so that's how I do it. And that's how I recommend other people do it too. Because otherwise, you can't weigh all that stuff out.
Yeah. Consistency over perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I know how to say the last part of this
Oh,
supplement, but
acetyl L-carnitine.
acetyl L-carnitine.
Yes, and I love its initials because they are near and dear to my own Adrienne Crane heart. I, I see this and I'm like, oh, high serum
Oh, it's
levels
mine.
of
It's
me.
my.
Yeah,
They named it after
they
me.
did. Who do I think? All right, so acetyl L-carnitine. This is another real heavy lifter amino acid. Are you getting the impression that amino acids are important? They are critical.
Yes.
So this improves cognitive performance and slows the rate of cognitive decline. So that's two distinct features. They seem the same, but they're not. So not only will it has nootropic effects, like it enhances the cognition that you already have, but also it slows your cognitive decline rate. And so along so if we put people on a continuum from healthy at one end, um a healthy cognating brain at one end, and then we've got Alzheimer's disease at the other. One team of researchers looked at levels of acetyl L-carnitine in all of those brains, from healthy cognition all the way down to Alzheimer's, and they found that there was a steady decrease in serum levels of acetyl L-carnitine as they went. So, in the brain that is healthy and normal and cognating, efficiently and normally, they had higher levels of acetyl L-carnitine in their overall body. So, we want to be able to match those levels. So as we march down into dementia and Alzheimer's, our levels of ALC go down. Um, so the way that this one works is kind of unique. So I know we've talked about cholinergic activity. We've talked about acetylcholine in the past, because acetylcholine is one of those heavy lifter neurotransmitters that have to be functioning in order for muscle movement and all kinds of activities in the brain. There are probably, and I'm kind of speaking off the top of my head here, but I would say there's probably more cholinergic receptors in the brain and body than maybe any other kind of receptor. But it is found everywhere. So acetylcholine, absolutely critical. This acetyl L-carnitine provides acetyl groups in order to make acetylcholine. Okay. It's right
It's
there
a
in the
lot of
name.
acetyl.
It's a lot of acetyls. Yes, we're lousy with acetyls. So it blocks neuronal death. So your neurons will die. They will die over time. Our brain mass shrinks over time. It blocks that death that occurs because of, you guessed it, oxidative stress. I'm telling you guys, inflammation, oxidation, oxidative stress, reactive oxygen species. This is why we age and die. Like that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean that in the fall, but
Yeah. There was one major event that happened.
yeah, well, yeah. But yeah, this is why we age so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Is because of this collective oxidative stress. So this is this is the most potent effect of acetyl L-carnitine, is the protection that it offers from oxidative stress. So you're gonna see this as a theme. Any time that we can reduce inflammation, that we can reduce oxidative stress, we want to do it. Okay. So the next one we want to talk about, and a lot of you are familiar. Oh, wait, I didn't give amounts. Oh, I didn't
Oh,
give
no, you
amounts. Okay.
didn't.
Yes. Acetyl
Okay.
L-carnitine,
Yes.
1.5 to 3 grams daily. And I kind of like to split doses. So, if you want to take 750 milligrams twice a day, that's going to get you to 1.5 grams. You can take like 75 to 1.5 grams daily. As with all things, I encourage people to start low, go slow. That's kind of my motto with these things. See how you tolerate it. I don't want somebody pooping their brains out. That's always the danger. With people with sensitive guts, and the gut kind of responds to everything. So I don't want to hear it if you were pooping your brains out because you didn't start low. Yeah,
So
so
1.5 to 3 grams daily of
there you go.
acetyl L-carnitine.
There you go.
All right. So next one up is omega-3s,
Mm-hmm.
which, if you don't already know, one of Andrea's desert island
Yes.
supplements that she would take with her is Nordic Naturals
Mm-hmm.
cod liver oil.
Yes. Yes. This stuff, oh my gosh, it will cure what ails you. Um, I could literally do a whole podcast on the virtues of cod liver oil. It is absolutely extraordinary compound.
I think you should.
Because it comes from a liver, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what's not to love? You can't spell liver without almost love.
Okay, that might have been a stretch, but okay.
That's so
My
dumb.
iPhone autocorrect always goes live after when I'm trying to say love. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
Yes, you can't live without liver, huh? How about that? All right.
there you go. That's much better.
Okay. So anyway, omega threes, yeah, omega
And we
threes.
live to love.
That's right. We love to live to love liver. Yeah. So omega threes, people know about these because the medical community has been harping at people, and rightly so, to get higher quantities of omega threes in their diets, and these come from things like fatty fish, right? This is fish oil essentially. Cod liver oil is very high in omega 3s, and so but there are two fatty acids that are of particular importance, and that is DHA and EPA.
Yes.
And so these are components of cellular membranes, and they keep the cellular membranes fluid. And anyway, there's a lot of biochemistry behind that, but they're incredibly important for maintaining cellular membrane, and that includes the health of the brain. They're also highly anti-inflammatory. They are also, guys, I just want to give a mild warning about these. They're also mildly anticoagulating. So if you are anticoagulated on medication, and as always, this show is not, we are not dispensing medical advice to your specific personal situation, and you guys all know
Yes.
that. But I just want to put out this kind of caveat here on omega 3s. Like if you're heading into surgery, please get off your omega 3s. Your surgical team will tell you that you don't want to bleed out. You
Yeah.
want to be able to clot. So it is mildly anticoagulating, and honestly, that's part of the benefit of these. And so I like 3 to 4 grams. Now this is sometimes a little bit hard for people to find on a label, but they'll give you the amount of EPA and DHA in the product, okay? And so what you want is a combined amount of 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams, or 3 to 4 grams of combined EPA to DHA. So for instance, if there's like 1.2 grams of EPA and 2.8 grams of DHA, that's going to be a total of 4 grams of combined EPA and DHA. And that is a good formulation right there. So you want to make sure that you're taking 3 to 4 grams per day. And you can absolutely divide this up. So the three companies that I really love: Nordic Naturals, Vital Nutrients, and Pharmax. That's Pharmax. And I prefer for people to take the liquid to the capsules. However, if capsules are something that you will take, I have actually recently, just for this period of time right now, because I find myself quite busy right now, and so it's I know that I will get things out of my pill container and take them with me to work. So I can't take the liquid with me because it's in a big bottle. It lives in the refrigerator. I do like it better, but the capsules for right now at this point in my life, the capsules I know are going to get down. So I put them in my morning pile of supplements and I put them in my evening pile of supplements, and I know it's going to go down. So yeah, but I think all three of those companies offer a capsule option, and then like a gel cap, and then also a liquid option.
Okay.
But yeah, they're all very high quality.
And if somebody is eating fish
Hmm.
on the regular, like that's just part of their
Yeah.
diet. It's honestly not part of mine, eating fish very often. Is this something that you'd still add on top of it,
Well,
or
yeah, and here's the problem. Here's one of the issues with fish. So this oily fish, we're talking salmon, mackerel, um, those are great, right? They're loaded with omega-3s. However, the problem is those are very large fish, and those very large fish will bioaccumulate mercury
yep.
because they're large, right?
Okay.
Now, if you want to, and so if you ate enough salmon or mackerel to give you 3 to 4 grams of DHA EPA per day, then you would probably run the risk of mercury contamination.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's
So,
kind
yeah,
of like you're not able to really
right. Now,
eat all of this.
there is a caveat to that. There is an exception, and that is sardines. She laughs. Sardines are amazing, and if I could get the world to eat more sardines, or at least my patients, that would be
Do
amazing.
you eat
If
sardines?
Yeah, of course I eat sardines.
Hmm.
Yeah, I probably eat 110 a week. Um, yeah, I mean and I don't. Okay, so I'll be honest. I don't think they're wonderful, but I eat them because they're really super good for me, and also I got a bunch on sale and I need to get through them. So anyway, I make like a tuna salad, and I just use sardines in place of the tuna. And here's the trick to eating sardines. Oh, so the great thing about sardines, they're tiny. They're little
Hmm.
tiny guys. So
And
they
if you've
don't
never bought a can of
bioaccumulate.
sardines, they're basically little
They're
fish,
little fish.
and
Yeah.
they're smashable.
Yeah.
So,
Right. So you can just smash them up. Yeah, you don't need to look at them. You just gulp and go. Just gulp and
mm,
go. But
yeah.
yeah, sardines are amazing. They are very high in omega-3s. They're very high in calcium, especially if you get them bone in. And you just munch them up. You just munch them up. It's so good for you. But yeah, so sardines are great, not bioaccumulators, because they are tiny. So you don't get that bioaccumulation of mercury that you do with the big guys. The big
Okay.
guys. So yeah, sardines, krill, all those little things.
So if you eat those, then you may not need as much
That is
supplements.
true. That is true. Yeah.
Okay. But if you're like me, you're not eating those. So
And
take your cod liver oil. And I will
yeah,
give a huge shout out to the Nordic Naturals. I do the orange flavor or citrus,
Oslo
whatever.
orange.
And
Yep.
it is very good. I know there's like
It
an oily
is.
taste, but it's
Mhm.
like not taste, but maybe a residual after effect, but it's
Yeah,
really not disgusting at all. I am the pickiest person when it comes to that kind of
you
stuff.
really are.
And I just take a swig and
So
it does
proud.
just fine. So,
So proud. Mhm.
this next one actually has been a kind of a hot topic with some of my clients lately.
Oh,
Magnesium
interesting.
threonate.
Oh, tell me, what have they been talking about? I'm curious.
Well, so kind of that brain fog,
Mm.
wanting to improve just like thinking during the
Ah,
day.
yes.
So memory, like
Mm.
all that cognitive function.
Mhm.
So so I've recommended adding threonate into their daily
Oh, very good.
morning
Yeah.
ritual. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, there are magnesium is really interesting. So magnesium itself is it is a cofactor for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. So it is really really important. And most people are walking around deficient in magnesium. In fact, if you crave dark chocolate, that a lot of times that is a sign that your body is craving magnesium.
huh,
So if you're a dark
good to know.
if you're a dark chocolate craver, pay attention. You might need some magnesium on board.
Okay.
Um,
And
s-
not all magnesium is equal and
that's
does the
right.
same job. So
That's
I
right.
think I can't remember what episode. Now we're like
Sleep
10 months in,
probably.
guys. And yeah, it's probably sleep.
Yeah.
But we talk about kind of the differences there. But
Mm,
if you don't know, just do a Google search of magnesium types and functions.
yeah.
And usually there's like a really nice little chart and it
Yeah.
will give you their functions.
Hmm.
So just buying a magnesium bottle of magnesium is probably not what you need specifically. So
Right.
look at what it is specifically.
Yeah, and I always talk about pooping your brains out, and that's no joke, you guys. Magnesium citrate. That we used to call it colon blow in the hospital. So this stuff is like it's in a green glass bottle and you don't even want to like take the cap off before you get out of the store because by the time you get home it will be too late.
For some.
That's yes. That ship will have sailed. So magnesium citrate is
Very
it
potent.
oh yeah, it's no joke. So yeah, it is a bowel stimulant. Now there are many many other kinds of magnesium that do different things. So, for instance, I we talked about magglycinate in
Yes.
the sleep issue, and
Mhm.
so I love recommending magglycinate. Now, magnesium threonate, I recommend that people take this in the morning because it can
Yes.
be a little bit stimulating to people.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's definitely can make your brain fire on all cylinders. So mag threonate um, it so in animal models, now on a lot of this research that I've done, there were rat studies and rat studies only. And I'll tell you where that is. So we're kind of getting into some of the nootropic kinds of supplements. And a lot of this stuff is really highly dependent on animal studies because human studies just simply have not been done yet. There's no money in it. And so I don't know if they ever will be done. But this is really the place where all research starts is with animal studies. And so, yeah, rat studies are they're very interesting and I would never discount them out of hand just because they're animal studies
Mhm.
because again we've learned so much that then we can directly apply to humans. Um, so on mag threonate during animal studies they have shown that mag threonate is neuroprotective. So mag threonate is the one that really goes to the brain. And it is neuroprotective. It also slows the rate of neurodegenerative disease. So this is something like dementia. Um, It yeah, it's very relaxing to the brain. It reduces neuronal excitotoxicity. Um, I believe it opposes glutamate. That might be what I read. So glutamate is an excitotoxin in the brain, and so high levels of glutamate um, can cause neuroinflammation because of that excitotoxicity, and I believe mag-threonate opposes that activity. But anyway, it's a great supplement to take for your brain. You can take up to 360 milligrams daily. I would start with 120 in the morning. However, I would also, if you're taking mag-glycinate at night for sleep, I would go half and half. Like I'd take 180 milligrams of mag-threonate in the morning and maybe 180 milligrams of mag-glycinate at night.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to get like crazy, crazy, crazy with magnesium because, you can only absorb so much.
Okay. So next on the
Ah,
list is something that
ah,
we are dabbling in.
woohoo!
I think Andrea's dabbling in more than I
I,
have. To be honest, I just forget to take it.
I am mega dabbling,
Yeah.
mega dabbling. Yeah.
So these are things that are over the counter. These are
Oh
not
yes.
hallucinogenics.
Oh yes. Yes.
These are mushrooms. So we're talking
Yes.
lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi,
Reishi.
reishi,
Chaga.
chaga, and
Turkey tail.
turkey tail.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you one of our episodes, they gave a shout out to our local new general store, and they have somebody that provides local grown mushrooms of
Yeah.
these varieties. So I've gotten those, cooked them up, sauteed them in my cast iron, and they
Mm,
are delicious over a freshly grilled steak. Whew.
yeah.
But I also got a supplement as well that I'm taking, and then I don't know
Mm.
where you got yours, but you're putting it in like your coffee,
Mhm.
like a
Yep.
powder.
Yeah, the kind I use is called Om, O-M, and it is a combination of, I think, all of these, and maybe then some. I don't know. It is pretty potent,
Okay.
and I will put in like, I don't know,
Okay.
something close to a teaspoon, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon, and I'll have that like up to a couple of times a day. But
Okay.
these are very specifically adaptogenic mushrooms. Now, here is the problem with mushrooms. These kinds of mushrooms. They they are immunomodulating. So in certain people who have certain autoimmune diseases, these can be immunogenic, meaning they can kind of set off your immune system. So,
Mm.
if you have if you have ulcerative colitis, if you have rheumatoid, if you have multiple sclerosis, if you have Hashimoto's, if you have psoriasis, if you have, psoriatic arthritis, any number of 15 million autoimmune diseases that are out there, you want to really start low and slow with these mushrooms. Now, uh, most of you know, I am riddled with autoimmunity. I won no genetic lottery when I was born. But I have had absolutely zero problem. Now, this is after, 12 years of being gluten free and really watching what I eat and, just generally not eating like a butthead most days of my life.
So
So
your gut
lots of
has
fruit.
had that many
Yeah.
years of
Mm-hmm.
repairing,
Yeah.
and
Tons of
so.
plant matter, tons of good protein,
Mhm.
lots of anti-inflammatory work, lots of gut repair work. So I don't have a problem at all with these mushrooms. In fact, they make me feel like I took a limitless pill. I mean, it's a whole new day, people. I just feel like my brain is just working. So
That's awesome.
yeah, makes me super happy.
If
I
I
feel like
remember to take them, I will have to.
so
Maybe I
yeah.
need this, powder, so, like, it's
I
another thing that I just
Oh, is
take,
yours not a powder? Is yours not a powder?
No, mine's a pill, so,
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
wish I could just
again,
open up, they're just capsules, I could open
oh,
it
you
up
could
and put
totally
it
do
in.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you could totally do that. So yeah, what I do, again, I just get a scoop and I put it in my coffee. So mushrooms, I don't. I don't know. I've got something against putting mushrooms in cold water. I'm just not going to do that. But I will put them in hot coffee, and I drink plenty of glasses of that.
And you said
So
you can't taste a difference.
nope, I don't taste them at all. And so let me tell you a little bit about what these suckers do. So again, people with AI, autoimmunity, make sure that you start low, go slow, and see how it affects you. But these have been found to improve memory. They will increase scores on cognitive function tests. Again, there's a lot of animal model studies on this, but there are also some human data too. They are probably working via an anti-inflammatory means of action, probably working on that reactive oxygen species pathways, but they also modulate cortisol pathways. And you know, I can see where there's a lot of anecdotal data on amelioration of depression and anxiety. I did not find any like, great randomized controlled trials on humans with depression and anxiety. However, there's a large body of anecdotal evidence out there, and the pathways make sense, right? An inflamed brain is often a depressed brain or an anxious brain. And so, if these are decreasing inflammation, if these are modulating the immune system in positive ways, modulating cortisol pathways, then these are absolutely working in such a way that can enhance sense of well being, focus, accessibility to memories, accessibility of knowledge in your brain. So, yeah, and I have certainly found that to be the case.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so let's see. Lion's mane in particular has been shown to be neuroprotective against that neuronal cell death we talked about. So,
Hmm.
once those neurons die, they really don't come back. Once you, oh, shoot. I'm real sorry about that. I think there's a siren out there. They go
Oh, that's
nuts.
okay. That's
People
okay.
just go crazy. All right.
It's all right.
So, let's see next.
Hooperzine, is that
Yeah, Hooperzine A.
Azine A?
Yeah, Hooperzine A. Um, that is. Hang on just a second. Sorry, it's somebody to talk to my husband. He needs to come down and deal with that.
I wonder if you shut your closet door if it would help.
Yeah, I'm sure that it would. Hang on. Yeah.
Always a joy having
Okay.
dogs, and you never know what the dogs are gonna do.
Oh
Like
my gosh, they're
mine is passed
so
out right now. Like she's
nice.
been passed out
Oh,
the whole time, so
yeah.
usually she's the one that's
I
all up in
know.
my biz. So,
I know.
so Hyperzine A,
Yes, Hooperzine A is an acetyl.
Hooperzine,
That's okay. That's
Hooperzine.
Hooperzine A. It is an acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. So again, here we are on that acetylcholine pathway. Oh, guys, so do you remember when we talked about the drugs that can cause dementia?
Mm-hmm.
Almost without exception, every single one of them were anticholinergics, right? Same pathway. So these are cholinergics. These work on that acetylcholine pathway. So huperzine A. So there is, and this gets a little convoluted, but stay with me. So we want lots of acetylcholine in the junction spaces between neurons. So that's how neurons talk to each other. They like the end of one neuron and then the beginning of the next one, there's like a little space in between. So one neuron will secrete a neurotransmitter into that space, and then the sorry, one neuron will secrete acetylcholine into that little space, and then the next neuron will pick it up. But here's the problem. Also in that space are like these little sharks called acetylcholinesterase. And that is an enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine because you don't want too much acetylcholine either. So it's kind of this Goldilocks thing, right? Now, if acetylcholinesterase is too aggressive, at breaking down the acetylcholine, then the signal or the acetylcholine can't get to the next neuron, right? So if we block some of the activity of acetylcholinesterase, then we can leave the acetylcholine in the junction, in that gap, for long enough for it to reach the other side. It's kind of like a game of sharks and minnows, right? If the minnows are the acetylcholine, the sharks are the acetylcholinesterase. We need the minnows to be able to get to the other side, so we want to block the sharks. And that's essentially what huperzine A does. It blocks the sharks. So it's an anti-acetylcholinesterase drug or supplement. Okay. So it also, remember I talked about glutamate and how it's an excitotoxin in the brain. This is a glutamate antagonist. So it works against glutamate. Okay. Now, it works similarly to Bacopa, which is coming up, which I will talk about here in a minute. But huperzine A and Bacopa, I'm super excited about these. I am taking these, and I also am having great effects from these.
So what's the biggest thing that you've noticed?
Oh my gosh, Ashley. Well, okay, so we're going to talk about this on the hormone episode too, but I was getting just so ridiculously stupid and slow. Like I couldn't access things that I knew. And like I have a partially photographic memory. I don't have like, fully savant memory where I can just like flip through the pages of a book in my brain. I don't have that. But I do have like a partially photographic memory. And so I can usually access things pretty quickly, and I just could not come up with things. So this is really the things that I am currently taking have really put me back on track, and I feel like I can access the things that I need to when I'm at work, when I'm talking with patients, when I'm delivering information to people, even in the something like this podcast. I'm not sitting here word searching like I was months ago. So yeah, super happy about that.
That's awesome.
So huperzine A dosing, pay attention. This is 100 micrograms, not milligrams, not grams. This is micrograms. So literally it's 0.1 milligrams twice daily. That's the same as 100 micrograms twice daily. So I take huperzine A. I put one little 100 microgram capsule in my AM stuff. I put one in my PM stuff, and I take it twice a day. Okay. Now, I love this one. Taurine. So, you heard of taurine before, and in what context?
Yeah, I could not tell you. I honestly don't know.
Okay, I bet, I would be willing to bet that where you've heard of it and where the majority of our listeners have heard of it is in the context of energy drinks.
Oh, yes.
So, in fact, I'm looking at my Monster right now, and I love these things. My kids got me Monsters for Mother's Day because they are lovely children. And so I'm looking across the top, and it says L-carnitine and taurine. So energy drinks are famous for having taurine in them. Taurine is it is a longevity molecule. It's being studied. There's some really interesting mice studies coming out about longevity and taurine. So here's what we know about human levels of taurine. For somebody age 60, they have only about a third of the taurine that a 5-year-old has. So over the course of 6 decades, taurine just tanks. Okay. Now, in mice and monkey studies, they found that not only did taurine increase longevity, but they also improved every single parameter of health that they studied. And this was bone density, anxiousness, mitochondrial function, muscle endurance and strength, cognitive function, and even immune health.
Wow.
So all of those parameters of aging improved with the administration of pretty hefty doses of taurine. So for taurine, I am taking 3 grams daily in divided doses. So I'll take 1.5 grams in the morning. I'll take 1.5 grams at night.
So the now supplement, goes in 1,000 milligram.
Okay, so yeah, you could take 2 in the morning and 1 at night, or 1 in the
Okay.
morning and 2 at night.
Okay.
Yeah. Love taurine. And no, that doesn't mean go out and, drink 6 Red Bulls daily because
Yeah.
it's got a ton of taurine in there. But honestly, that is one of the reason why, 5-hour energy, why monsters, why my favorite bangs. I love
Mm.
bangs. Those are my absolute favorite. That's why they actually have a little more bang than a cup of coffee, no pun intended. um Shout out bang. That's why you feel a little different after an energy drink than you do after some coffee, because
Mm.
coffee is caffeine only, and these have a few more enhancers in there. They're getting interesting with these energy
Okay.
drinks, so yeah.
Yeah. So maybe one a day or maybe one a week, but
Yeah, so let's see. I mean, I think about them a lot more than I drink them.
yeah.
So I probably have one, maybe two a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, do you have a question on that?
No,
We
I don't
moving
think
on?
so. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So the next one, I'm pretty excited about this one. This is kind of new. Bacopa. This is a
Yeah.
botanical. Um, and it works similarly to huperzine A in that it decreases acetylcholinesterase activity, but it does some other things too. But I want to make the distinction on what it does. It decreases overall inflammation, but I want to tell you how. So there is a master antioxidant. So we've been talking about the scourge of oxidative stress, right? This is the process that causes all of the inflammation. Now, what Bacopa does is it increases endogenous levels of the master antioxidant, and that antioxidant is glutathione. Okay, glutathione is the premier, like, best antioxidant molecule in the body. It is the most efficient. It is an incredible antioxidant. Works under just a variety of circumstances, etc. Um, so, extremely important. What Bacopa does is increase your levels naturally of glutathione. Now, this is also interesting because N-acetylcysteine, that everybody's probably familiar with, this was in a lot of the COVID protocols. But N-acetylcysteine is a precursor of glutathione. So your body will take N-acetylcysteine and make glutathione out of it. And anyway, Bacopa can facilitate that process and make it happen faster and more efficiently. It also promotes free radical scavenging. And here's the really cool part. This this particular botanical has been shown to work just as well as any of the drugs that we have for dementia. So this
Wow.
includes rivastigmine, galantamine, donepezil. That's basically all we have. And this drug works as well or better.
That's
This
crazy.
botanical, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but caveat. Do not use if wanting to conceive. Rats showed significant reduction in fertility. That does not mean that it translates 100% to humans, but you
It's something
yes,
obviously to be mindful
absolutely.
of.
Absolutely consider that. Also, so I wanted to bring it back around to the phosphatides. These are the
Yeah.
phosphatidylserine ones. So there's phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylethanolamine, phosphatidylinositol, and phosphatidylcholine. All four of these are phospholipids. They are components of cellular membranes. And in order for your cellular membranes, including your brain, remember, because the brain is fat, these are phosphofats. phospholipids. They are major components of the cellular membranes of your neurons. And we want to make sure that you've got adequate sources of those. You can take them in a pill form, but you can also get them from things like egg yolks, dairy, and soybeans. But there are supplements that are phospholipid complexes where you can take all of them at once. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. And then the final one I want to talk about, BCAAs. All right. Branched chain amino acids. Now, after I used to say branched chains were probably fine in people that weren't getting enough protein. I no longer recommend standalone branched chain. Okay. There have been, let's see, supplemental BCAAs in rat studies led to, hear me, an increased degradation of brain function. This is this is a depletion of brain function. Yeah.
So not what we are trying to do
Yes.
right now.
And so when the researchers withheld the branched chain amino acids, they decreased the rate at which that degeneration occurred. So essentially, they improved the rat's cognition by withholding the branched chain amino acid. So you want to get your branched chains from whole protein, whole food sources. Um, recent recent research will also correlate elevated levels of circulating BCAAs with type 2 diabetes, which also then has a link to Alzheimer's disease. So far we have connected giving branch chains with degradation of brain function, type 2 diabetes, and then further down the line, Alzheimer's disease. Okay.
Which is super fascinating because BCAs are very popular in the
Oh yeah.
fitness
Mm-hmm.
industry.
Yep.
Now, do you know anything regarding EAAs?
I would think you'd I would think you'd have a little better bet with those because they would be in the context of all essential amino acids, right?
Right.
So you probably have a formulation of all 20 in there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would probably be better, but even so, why are people doing that? Why are they not just eating the food?
Eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't know what amino acids are, they're literally the building blocks of,
Yeah, they're protein.
yeah, protein. So they're you can definitely get it through diet. It does, to get the amount that you need and what we recommend, go back to our protein episodes.
Yep.
But it does take some practice if you're not used to eating that much. And like Andrea has mentioned multiple times, go low and slow when
Mm-hmm.
adding in any of these supplements, but specifically protein as well. We do not just bump you up to the recommended amount that we
Mm-hmm.
want. We go low and slow
You will
and build
curse
that
us.
up. And you will eventually get used to it. I know whenever I talk to clients about, well, I actually want you to eat this much eventually, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
there's just no way I can't do that. And I'm like, you will, but you just need
Yep.
to practice and you need to increase slowly. And over
Mm-hmm.
time, it'll honestly become so second nature that you will be like, I don't know how I didn't eat this much, because
Right.
one, you'll just feel amazing. Two, if you're a training individual, you will notice the physical benefits of eating
Mm-hmm.
more protein. But there's just copious amounts of studies on the health benefits, especially for
Yeah.
cognitive health. So,
Yep.
yeah,
And that's all I got.
that was quite a bit, and that was quite interesting and fascinating. So, if you
Oh,
haven't,
girl. Hang on.
what?
Did I say the Bacopa? You need 450 milligrams daily. I don't think I said
Oh, yeah, 450
Bacopa.
milligrams daily.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
will put a little summary in the
Oh,
notes
cool.
of our episode today with those amounts, and maybe some caveats on building up to those dosages
Mm.
and stuff. But yeah, like Andrea said, don't go out and buy all of them.
Please don't do that.
Start with one or two. Try
Yeah.
that for maybe a month or so, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing good, if you're noticing some good benefits from it, then you can consider adding some more. But all of this is super fascinating, and we're just we're wanting to just optimize overall health in
Mm-hmm.
general.
Yeah.
And there are obviously things that we can do with lifestyle and dietary things, but
Yeah.
there's just some things that we're not able to reach without some supplements. So
Yeah.
these are the things that we are showing and recommend and would encourage you to consider as well. So, uh, if you haven't already, go back and listen to all of the episodes on this
Mm.
cognitive health series. I have found it fascinating and insightful and very informative. And if you found it, um, all of those things as well, then the biggest compliment that you can give us is sharing this episode with your friends and family or on your social media. So, if you have questions, questions maybe on another supplement that you've heard of, or maybe one of the supplements that we have mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
hit us up on our email,
Please do.
askAAPodcast
Yeah.
at gmail.com, or find us on the social medias and hit us up there. But as always, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye. The content provided in the AA podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The information and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not constitute medical advice.